great excitement that I now wish to invite on stage my very dear friend, a Global Thinkers Forum ambassador, an ambassador of excellence herself, multi-award-winning Turkish author, humanist, activist, Elif Shafak, a global soul herself. And talking about collaboration and understanding and the need to not divide people in tribes, what better evidence than a Greek inviting on stage a Turkish lady?
Such a pleasure for me to be here tonight with you, with dear Elizabeth, and with kindred spirits. I honestly don't think we don't have many platforms such as these, and maybe more and more of us appreciate the importance and the necessity of such dialogues that go beyond national boundaries, religious boundaries, ethnic boundaries, beyond our own ghettos, cultural ghettos, you know. But allow me to, I'm just going to say a few words. Allow me to share with you an experience I had when I was writing one of my earlier novels, a novel called Honor, that dealt with an honor killing. And for that book in particular, I don't like the word honor killing. There's no honor in honor killings at all. And I was trying to understand the concept. I was trying to understand the experience of so many families. And while I was writing that book, I interviewed so many immigrant families, Turkish, Kurdish, Cypriot, both in the UK, but across Europe as well, particularly in Germany. And many of them shared with me their personal family stories. But one of those stories stayed with me for a long time. This was a family that had moved for political reasons. They were political exiles. And the younger third generation artist, he told me that his father, when the family moved to Germany from Turkey, he had looked at his watch, and for years he had preferred to wear that watch fixed at that hour, you know, almost frozen at the time he left his motherland. And only years later, when he had a grandchild, he preferred to wear a normal watch. But for a while, he said, for my father and my family, time had frozen. And that little quote made me think, what does it mean? You know, what is time? How do we tend to approach time? We tend to think that time always moves forward, that it moves in a linear direction, in a progressive direction. But is it like that necessarily? I come from a country that has Turkey. I come from Turkey, a country that has gone backwards, both gradually, but also with a bewildering speed. A country that had regular elections, and at least on paper, seemed to be devoted to an ideal of democracy. But we lost that ideal. And I find it important, the case in Turkey, because it showed us the fragility of political systems. It showed us the fragility of democracy. Democracy is a very delicate ecosystem that needs rule of law, separation of powers, definitely an independent, diverse media, an independent academia, definitely women's rights, LGBT rights, minority rights. Together with all these components, we have a functioning, thriving democracy. Otherwise, if it's only just a ballot box, I am afraid that that will pave the way for authoritarianism. It will start as majoritarianism, and then to authoritarianism, it's just a short step. But I think the Turkish case has also shown us that time does not necessarily go forward always, that history does not necessarily go forward. Sometimes it goes backwards. Sometimes generations make exactly the same mistakes that their great-grandfathers or grandmothers might have made. So memory is a responsibility. And maybe in many parts of the world, many people are still living the consequences of unresolved issues that go all the way back to 19th century. Yeah? So it will be a mistake to think that we have left the past behind and we are necessarily more forward. We live in a much more liquid world than that, in my opinion. I mentioned time, but what about the concept of space, place? I think it will be equally a mistake to think that the world is divided into two camps of safe, stable, solid countries and more wobbly, wounded countries. We tended to make this hierarchical geography in our minds, but I think after the year 2016, that imaginary division is no more. As the late Zygmunt Bauman told us, we all live in a very liquid world. In fact, nothing feels too solid anymore. And if that is the case, if countries can go backwards, if time can go backwards, and if political systems can decline into populism, nationalism, tribalism, isolationism, I sincerely believe this should concern us women much more than men. Because when that happens, when societies go backwards, women have more to lose. And therefore, perhaps this needs to be a crucial moment, not only for global awareness, not only for global activism, but in particular for global feminism and for global sisterhood. There's a lovely quote that is used by Khalil Gibran, the Lebanese thinker, poet Khalil Gibran, that I like a lot. He tells in an interview how he learned the value of silence from talkative people, how he learned kindness from unkind people. And I think that's a wonderful way of thinking, because we have so many negative influences in the world we are living in today. And perhaps we can turn all that negative impact into a positive energy by using Khalil Gibran's methodology. So in a similar way, because there's so much tribalism in the world we're living in today, perhaps from those tribalists, we are going to relearn the indispensability of global solidarity. And perhaps from populists, we are going to relearn the value of democracy. And perhaps from people who defend isolationism and nationalism, we're going to relearn the importance of diversity, the importance of cosmopolitanism, and the beauty of being world citizens. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.